Okay everyone, here's what you need to know. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel and looked at the description as to what this is about, let me fill you in. The purpose of my channel is to talk about all things carnivore and to share with you my journey restarting out, as you'll hear if you go back and listen to some of my other vlogs, starting out on my journey as a carnivore. Now, there are many in the world of social media who present everything positive. That's not what this channel is about. This channel is about sharing with you the ups and the downs, the negatives, the positives, the pros and the cons of carnivore, and my journey going from a modern American diet or a standard Western diet into a life of carnivore eating for the purpose of improving my health. With my mental headspace being a bit poor, that has resulted in me having no energy emotionally and physically. I've been sleeping very poorly. My mental energy is also gone. I could have recorded this vlog 2 nights ago. It's currently Thursday night, and had it edited by now and actually had it uploaded ready to premiere on Saturday at 8 a.m, which is when I always release the next vlog. However, I've kept delaying it and kept delaying it and kept delaying it, and I don't want to cram it all in on Friday night. So I finally got around to recording it, no makeup, no hair, real life, because this is my carnivore journey. I haven't eaten full carnivore over the last 2 weeks. Well, I have, but I've had something non-carnivore every day. It's wreaking havoc on my mental space. It's wreaking havoc on my energy. It's giving me acne and it's causing me to not have motivation. And I hate that. So that's changing. And I'm going to stop doing that. But this is part of the journey and I wanted to share that with you. With that being said, my name's Emily and welcome to That Carnivore Life. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about the interaction of Crohn's disease with carnivore. But first, I want to be really upfront and honest with you. In this journey going carnivore, I have had some ups and downs. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I ended isolation after contracting a virus and testing positive. And I had a couple of my close friends. We ate dinner together in my home. It was a very belated housewarming. And I chose to eat a few things that weren't carnivore. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, not only have I continued to eat a few things that aren't carnivore, I've not felt well and my mental headspace has been poor. Now, there's some things that I am seeing a counselor for which can impact mental health, but food, especially sugar, greatly negatively affects mental health, which is a huge driving factor why I went carnivore in the first place, to take away the food impact on the negative side of mental health so that I was just dealing with the emotional side of mental health. Yes, I am carnivore. I eat primarily, exclusively a meat-based diet. I've been carnivore since the 26th of November 2021, but the last 2 weeks, most days, I have had something non-carnivore. In fact, today I did that twice, and it's not like I'm having some berries or having a carrot. It's things like ice cream. We're heading into March, and my month of March is going to be a meat-filled March. In fact, exclusively meat-filled. I'm going to refocus and get back in because I want to have positive mental health. So enough said about that. I'm going to share with you carnivore's interaction with Crohn's disease. Let me clarify before we jump into Crohn's and carnivore. I have no formal medical training around either. I don't have any medical training around irritable bowel disease or irritable bowel syndrome, known as IBD and IBS. That's how I'll refer to them throughout from now on. I don't have any university degrees. All the knowledge that I'm going to share with you on this topic is based off my own personal experience being diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which I'm going to talk about, and working with professionals and different healthcare providers over the last decade, leading me to where I'm at now and wanting to share that experience and knowledge with you. Some of this knowledge comes from medical professionals. Some of it comes off my own personal research, and some comes from both. And as I talk throughout, I'll try to differentiate that for you. If you find anything in this video helpful or interesting, or you just love my accent, please give this video a thumbs up. And And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and select the bell notification to be notified of future uploads. The longer I'm a carnivore, the more often I see people asking for experience or advice from people who are carnivore or have been carnivore long term and who have Crohn's disease. And I can understand why. Crohn's disease is nothing to mess around with, especially if you're flaring or your disease is not stable. It's really important not to mess around with Crohn's disease. That's why they're asking these questions. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in March of 2022. It's been a really long road to health. Right now, I am living a much better lifestyle. Even though I still have some symptoms or some reactions to certain things, overall, my health compared to 10 years ago is a lot better. I want to help people who are in a similar boat to where I was, and that's why I'm choosing to talk about this in this episode. First, it will be helpful to explain what Crohn's is. The Mayo Clinic defines Crohn's as a type of inflammatory bowel disease, IBD. It causes inflammation of the digestive tract, which is anywhere from the mouth to the outside of the butt, which can lead to abdominal pain, severe diarrhea, fatigue, weight loss, and malnutrition. And inflammation caused by Crohn's disease can affect any part of the digestive tract in different people. So it's not identical. The link is below for that information. I define Crohn's disease as your immune system thinking your digestive system is a virus and doing everything it can to eliminate it in the quickest time possible. Crohn's disease looks like in your daily life a variety of symptoms. It's lethargy, like severe exhaustion, brain fog, memory issues like concentration, diarrhea, nausea, pain, bloating, weight loss, weight gain, countless bathroom visits day and night, and not number ones, number twos, low nutrition, poor levels of iron, poor levels of vitamins and minerals, arthritis, food sensitivities, and so many more. Especially when you're in a flare, it's not only debilitating, but it's actually also embarrassing. It often affects many people's mental health negatively. And it's almost impossible to live a life with Crohn's disease and not have some form of related operation. The other thing that I want to add in here, and this does come from a well-respected worldwide gastroenterologist, that depending on where the Crohn's is located within your body will depend on whether you are somebody who struggles with weight loss, as in you're super underweight and can't put it on, you lose weight really quickly, or whether you're somebody who retains weight and puts it on. So directly as a result of the Crohn's in both of those situations. The typical view of Crohn's disease and a patient having Crohn's disease being they lost weight really quickly and underweight does not fit every situation. Personally, where the Crohn's disease was for me, I was getting my nutrition, it was getting absorbed. And so I was putting weight on because obviously I was eating the wrong things, but I still had Crohn's disease and was medically diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Enough of the doom and gloom. Before we go on though, here is my backstory. As a child, I had issues tolerating dairy. In my teens, I had issues with tolerating tomato-based sauces, onion, garlic, and gluten. Oh, and occasionally dairy. In 2011, I became increasingly sick while experiencing a really traumatic year. All of this you can learn about in more detail in my previous vlog, which is titled, How Did I Get Here? My Carnivore Story. After multiple specialist visits, a hospital visit, and invasive tests, I was finally diagnosed with Crohn's disease in March of 2012. This is where I pick up the story. Whilst I was finally diagnosed, we had picked up Crohn's disease early enough that it was mild, but my symptoms were classified as severe because how they were impacting my daily life and they weren't responding to medications. By 2013, I had tried 3 different steroids and 3 common tablet forms of medication that Crohn's typically responds to really well. I don't remember their names, unfortunately. Also, from medical professionals, every medical professional knows that it's really hard to find the right medication, the right amount of medication, and the right combination of those medications for every single Crohn's patient. So the fact that I was 18 months into being diagnosed and tried multiple medications and they weren't helping bring the Crohn's disease under control was not unusual. It was actually really expected. but very frustrating for myself. During this time, I was also diagnosed with FODMAPs. You can learn more about that in my previous blog titled FODMAPs, and also food allergies. None which are anaphylaxis, thankfully. It's also medically known that many people with IBDs have comorbidities. Food issues is one of those, and just as an example, I mentioned it earlier, arthritis is another. Around 2013 and 2014, I had joined an IBD support group through Crohn's and Colitis Association of Australia. It was in this support group that I heard a testimony from a fellow sufferer who was seeing a very well-respected specialist in my home state in Australia. This specialist is known around the world and runs the department in his hospital that he works in. She gave me a whole lot of advice and I was transferred to his care. My first appointment went for 2.5 hours. He asked me so many questions, some of which I never would have thought you would ask when talking about Crohn's disease or an IBD. That's the first time in this journey that I felt seen, that I felt heard, and I felt like I was with someone who was actually going to care for my health. He put me on a couple of different medications. One was Imuran, IMURAN, 3 tablets a day. The other was amitriptyline, not sure how to spell it, but it was 10 milligrams a day. It's supposed to help with sleep so that my body had a chance overnight to heal. It's actually a drug that was used to treat depression and anxiety, but it's a very, very low dose, and as many now know, especially in the medical world, it's becoming more and more known that our gut is our second brain, and it makes sense then that this is quite effective in patients for Crohn's disease and has shown to have quite a good result. And again, this information is coming from that specialist that I was seeing, that gastroenterologist. He also placed me on infliximab infusions, otherwise known as Humira. I was on infliximab infusions every 8 weeks. It was with these medications, these amounts, and these combinations that for me brought the Crohn's disease under control. Every appointment I had with this gastroenterologist also included his IBD nurse and often included a dietitian of the hospital where he worked. I was also seeing a naturopath, and so most of my knowledge around Crohn's disease comes from these 4 different people, especially that head gastroenterologist, and then a little bit comes from my own personal research. When Crohn's disease is flared, it's important to not consume much fiber at all. Again, this is widely known in the medical field. Dietitians, nutritionists, your specialists, your nurses, they will all tell you to eat very bland foods and very soft foods. They often recommend steaming your food. They recommend things like chicken, but not the skin, ground meat. So when they're talking about fruits and vegetables, they must be peeled and have no seeds. So potatoes peeled, carrots peeled, tomatoes peeled and no seeds. Strawberries out. Like, how do you get rid of seeds from a strawberry? Raspberries out. Like, you can't consume those. And if you're going to have spinach, it has to be super, super cooked so that it's very, very, very soft. Also, no nuts, because nuts tend to clump together, which can cause a blockage. One of the favorite dishes to be recommended is steamed chicken or poached chicken with mashed potato and spinach and or carrots. Again, all of that steamed until very soft. Yet, you can also become constipated on Crohn's disease. So you'll typically be recommended a form of dietary fiber, such as Metamucil. But if you are somebody who has food sensitivity issues like I do, you can't tolerate Metamucil, and so you're up the creek without a paddle. This is the world of Crohn's disease in the medical space. It's actually this information around food in particular from these medical professionals that has me seeing carnivore as a diet that actually makes sense for Crohn's disease patients. If you are not to have fiber, if you are not to have nuts, if you are not to have seeds and skins because they can get caught in the inflammation, to have something like protein and fat, it fits perfectly and makes so much sense. Basically, all of the professionals I've seen, I would assume, I can't guarantee, would suggest that fat is bad for Crohn's disease patients. They're already dealing with severe diarrhea multiple times a day. day, as if you want to add in fat and increase that. That would be their logic, I assume. However, from my perspective and based on my personal experience, I think something different. Once you get through the adaptation phase, the loose stools settle down. Regularity occurs. And so from a Crohn's perspective on carnivore, there isn't really anything much that can get caught in inflammation. But if your digestive tract is so inflamed that it is so narrowed, sometimes water can't even pass through. So of course, carnivore would definitely be a problem. My recommendation for a Crohn's disease person starting out carnivore is to start out lean. Your body is going to go through an adaptation phase. You're probably already dealing with incredibly loose and frequent stools every single day. Why make it worse? No one wants that. You actually wouldn't get off the throne, and we need to. So start out lean. Chicken, turkey, seafood like shrimp, scallops, oysters, mussels, calamari. Keep your consumption of eggs low, a couple a day. If you're going to have bacon, maybe 1 or 2 strips. Ground beef with a low fat volume, steaks that don't have a lot of fat, like round or top, like sirloin, and have very limited use of butter and ghee, like don't really use much of that. If cream is used, have a small amount each day, 1 to 2 tablespoons, and spread throughout the day. Once you notice after a few weeks your bathroom visits settle back down closer to your normal, because if you're a Crohn's disease patient, your normal's not going to look like a solid stool once a day, probably. Once you notice you're back to your normal, start increasing the fat. You will need it. Starting out lean, you'll typically eat more meals a day. Between 3 and 6 meals was what I was experiencing. So I was eating more often and I was eating more because it was lean. Once you start to increase your fat, you'll notice you'll eat a bit less and you'll eat less often. I now typically eat twice a day. As you transition into increasing the fat, do it slowly and do one thing at a time. So perhaps add a tablespoon of butter or half a tablespoon of butter to your meat once you've cooked it and you're sitting down to eat it. Maybe try 1 meal every day for a week and then do it with all your meals every day for a week. What will happen every time you do something like this is your bathroom visits will escalate and then they'll settle down again. So once they've gone back to more of your normal or better than your normal, increase fat elsewhere. So add in some fatty cuts of steak like ribeye, or increase your eggs or increase your bacon, things like that. Also, I would say that for any person starting out on carnivore, whether you're a Crohn's, IBD patient or not. It's important to note that when I started out on carnivore, I was already clinically in remission for Crohn's disease. In July of 2019, I was placed into clinical remission. Because I was moving overseas, my gastroenterologist advised me to continue taking the Imuran tablets. However, in August of 2019, when I arrived in the USA, I found that I kept forgetting to take my tablets. So I just stopped. And for the most part, I've been fine. In the summer, so in July of 2020, when I originally first went carnivore, I was noticing that some symptoms were returning. The reason why I returned to carnivore again in November of 2021 is because I was noticing the same thing. I'm not able to see my gastroenterologist at this stage. We aren't in the same country, and I don't have one here at this point. I can't get tested. I don't know what my CRP level is at. I don't know what my inflammation is at. I just can't do any of the tests. All I can do is go on how I feel. So some of those symptoms that I noticed were returning were the lethargy, the pain in the specific area of my abdomen, stomach that I get it, the bathroom visits, the brain fog, the inability to handle hot weather as well, and nausea. That gave me a concern that Crohn's could be becoming reactive and I could be moving out of remission. So I really needed to be doing something to help myself as best as I could. Knowing how well I did with carnivore the previous year, I decided to go back to it, and that's what I'm now doing. I've been consistently carnivore since November 26 of 2021. So about 2 to 4 months, I've been consistently carnivore with just a couple of days here and there that I've had something non-carnivore. Obviously, I mentioned the last 2 weeks. The only symptom that I still have that I would probably attribute attribute towards Crohn's disease compared to any of the others is the pain that I get in my abdomen. So I'm seeing a lot of improvement, and that is not every day. So that has improved. Every medical professional I saw explained that sugar is bad for Crohn's. If you haven't seen my previous vlogs, in many of them, I talk about the fact that carbohydrates are a sugar, carbs are a sugar. So when I'm saying sugar, I'm also referring to carbs. The real funny thing is the nutritionists and the dietitians who were recommending food for you to eat, they're often recommending packaged foods that contain sugar. Go figure, right? Confusing much? What I love about carnivore is that it involves no sugar, and so it fits perfectly in the diet for a Crohn's patient. If you happen to be somebody who can't eat red meat, for example, steak, that's totally okay. Carnivore is about eating what comes from an animal. You've got eggs, you've got bacon, you've got pork, you've got white fish, you've got salmon, you've got tuna, you've got all the shellfish, chicken, turkey, rabbit, think outside the box. It is very easy to do carnivore. Some people actually only eat one thing. Michaela Peterson, for a really long time, only ate beef. So it's possible. Carnivore is possible in so many different ways. If you can't figure it out, reach out for help. There's a fantastic Facebook group called World Carnivore Tribe, and you could also reach out for a coach or a mentor group, an accountability group. There are a couple of people that I really like, Kelly Hogan and Bella from Steak and Butter Girl. They do month-to-month groups, and so you sign up for a group for a month, and they're a great deal of support. I'm actually going to be doing that with them in the next 1 to 2 months. I haven't decided which month I'm starting that. Oh, and Tiffany R.D. You can find her on Instagram. You are also welcome to reach out to me. You can leave a comment below or find me on Instagram, thatcarnivorelife.gram, and send me a direct message. I share snippets into my life as a carnivore, and it's very visual, so that's super helpful in prompting you in how to lead a carnivore way of eating life. I have noticed as a Crohn's person that now I'm adapted to the carnivore way of eating, my body actually really appreciates the fat and craves it. Oh, it appreciates the higher fat consumption. I do better when I'm eating leaner meats to have a decent slab of butter with them. Yet when I'm sitting down for a ribeye, I often don't actually need the butter. And sometimes if it's a larger ribeye and I do have butter with it, I notice that that was a little too much fat. So you'll learn how to identify that for your own body, but it does take a little bit of time. This really is my personal experience, and it's so important for us to listen to our body. If we're eating a standard Western diet, that actually blocks our ability to correctly interpret what our body is telling me it needs. For example, when you're craving sugar, say ice cream or a donut, you actually probably just need to eat some protein. When you are carnivore, which once you've adapted into that, for me it was around the 6 to 8 week mark, I went, oh, I'm craving protein, or I'm craving fat. Like I knew what I needed, or I need salt, or I need water. I'd never experienced my body in that way. It will particularly crave certain types of meat as well. Occasionally, I really crave fish. For the most part, I've gone off fish and shellfish, and yet that's been one of my favorite things to eat since I was young. In this episode, I've talked a lot about my personal experience with Crohn's, the medical advice that I received, the interaction I've experienced with Crohn's disease, and what my perception is for a Crohn's disease person who wants to eat carnivore. If you have questions relating to that, obviously there's been a lot that I haven't shared. It's been 10 years since I was diagnosed and carnivore very recently. Please comment below or find me on Instagram, thatcarnivorelife.gram, and send me a direct message. Please also like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click the bell notification to be notified of future uploads. Oh, and if you would like, please let me know what carnivore content you would like to hear about in the future. Thank you for joining me today. That's all from That Carnivore Life. From me, Emily. Oh, P.S. Thank you for not judging the fact that I'm sitting here without my hair done, without makeup on. But don't worry, I'm doing okay. Just some things I've had to not do so that I have the energy to do this vlog, because if I'd done my hair and makeup, this vlog wouldn't have been done. So thank you for joining. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, and for those who are new to my channel, I've seen a few of you have subscribed just this last week. Welcome and thank you so much. Also, one more thing. I would really like to have another video for you next Saturday. However, I am away at a conference for a week, no cell reception, no Wi-Fi. You might get a video, you might not, but select that bell notification. As soon as I get the next one up, you will be notified. Bye. Have a great week and I'll see you next time.